Welcome into PFF Studios. Austin Gayle here with Mike Renner, the hosts of 2-for-1 Drafts. We have a full, all 32 teams NFL mock draft to celebrate kind of the initial part of the offseason here just after the national championship. Let's go ahead and get right into it. This one's easy. Cincinnati Bengals, Joe Burrow. Don't make the mistake, Bengals. This is the guy. Quarterback, he's got the best quarterback grade we've seen from a college quarterback dating back all the way to 2014.
Yeah, let me just preface this by saying this is what we would do as PFF. We're GM of every single team, not necessarily what we're projecting to do, but goddamn, if the Bengals don't pick them at number 1 overall, we'll be floored. He had the best season we've ever given back to a quarterback, like you mentioned. He has absolutely pinpoint accuracy all season long, the likes of which we just never seen. Yep. And it's not just, intermediate, underneath. His downfield passing, the way he puts those go balls in his receiver's hands down the football field. You saw it against Clemson. We saw it, every single week during the regular season. Is just different. And that's going to translate at the next level. I know he doesn't have the cannon of the arm, but those vertical leads are what you need to succeed at the next level. You don't need a cannon to put that ball placement where he puts it. And I think he's just... I think he's a surefire franchise guy at this point. There's no real question marks we have about him anymore.
Had some fantastic throws in the national championship, an exclamation point on a historic season according to all levels there. Let's go to number 2. Chase Young of Ohio State, the best non-quarterback in this class. The Washington Redskins could think Tua Tagovailoa here, but Chase Young is just that good.
Yeah, I was going to say, we don't need to pencil these anymore. You can put Sharpies on these 2 picks. I think they are going to be the guys that are selected. You want to use the term generational? You can use the term generational. They are that good. Chase Young broke the PFF pass rushing record this past season. Just utterly dominant. You saw him completely change games, even when he wasn't getting pressure. Go back to that Northwestern game where they just rolled away from him 7 straight plays just because they knew that they had no chance of blocking him, even if they were going to double team him. That's how good he is. Not a box about the position that he doesn't check at this point.
Exactly. Just a complete prospect across the board. Number 3, this is where we would go with the Detroit Lions. Jeffrey Hakuna of Ohio State, a great man coverage corner, former 5-star prospect, athletic, ball production, very good this year. I think he's a guy that at 3, how much man coverage the Detroit Lions play, you cannot pass on a guy like Hakuna.
Yeah, he goes into that college football semifinal game against a couple NFL type of receivers that Clemson has, throws out there. Targeted 10 times, only 5 catches for 47 yards, less than 5 yards per target in that game. Had a couple pass breakups, basically passed every single test with flying colors this year. Didn't allow more than that 47 yards in any single game all season long. Yeah, the Lions, they could go a number of different ways with that pick, could even trade out, but with as much man coverage as they play, you pair him with Darius Slay, your defense transforms overnight.
Even if they don't, Darius Slay, a free agent this offseason, you're going to need a guy like Jeffrey Hakuna to come in if you do lose him. Number 4, CeeDee Lamb of Oklahoma, wide receiver 1 in this class. He's been fantastic this year.
Yeah, and the difference between him and Jerry Jeudy is just Lamb has been doing it from the outside, seeing more press coverage, and then beating it regularly. Absurd after the catch. 26 broken tackles on the season on just over 50 catches. That rate is out of this world. And he averaged 13.2 average depth of target. He's not catching screens and then doing it after the catch. He's catching downfield passes, making guys miss, and then making big plays, bigger plays. That is what CeeDee Lamb brings to the table. And the New York Giants, they have a lot of complementary pieces at wide receiver. They don't have a true number 1 where you see man coverage in your Dalen Jones, I'm going to this guy. That's what CeeDee Lamb could be.
Earns targets at all levels of the field, short, intermediate, deep, and does so well after the catch. A really great wide receiver for New York. Number 5, Tua Tagovailoa. The injury is a huge concern. There are chances that he could not play football again with a serious hiccup to that injury, but he's that good of a player, the only quarterback in this class with back-to-back years of 90.0 plus PFF grades. He's a very good guy if he can be healthy.
That is the thing. He did nothing this season on the field to dissuade us from our opinion that he is a surefire, he is a franchise type of quarterback prospect. You cannot draft him too highly. He is that good. Now, he got passed up by Joe Burrow over the course of the season, but we believe very strongly that if he does recover from that injury, he is very worthy of a top 5 pick. The injury, though, the good news is you'll likely know if complications will arise by late April. You'll have a much, much better idea. So I do think the risk, if you have your doctor check him out at that point and, clear him, is not going to be as high as some people are making it out to be. You'll know by then. So if he gets a clean bill of health, we feel very good about him in the top 5.
Number 6, one of my favorite players in the class, Isaiah Simmons, a guy that can do it all, linebacker, cornerback, safety, goes to the Los Angeles Chargers, who will use him at their best.
Yeah, one of the only guys who showed up for Clemson in that national championship game.
Very true.
Defensively, had a couple pass breakups in that game and has been breaking up passes his entire college career. A coverage grade over 90 for his career at Clemson, and that's playing safety, playing slot corner, playing linebacker, basically doing it all. And I think that's what he brings to the table for the Los Angeles Chargers. You have the pass rush. You have Derwin James, who is a very similar sort of player. You add in Isaiah Simmons, and all of a sudden the flexibility, the amount of things you can do defensively as a defense coordinator, it just goes through the roof. It's what a modern defense is sort of transforming to, is these hybrid defenses that can respond to anything an offense throws at them. That's Isaiah Simmons.
Nasir Adderley, Derwin James, Isaiah Simmons. You're going to have just such a versatile, athletic bunch on defense. Chargers make the right move there. 8, Andrew Thomas, one of the most athletic tackles in this class. Very smooth. Goes to a Panthers team that needs offensive line help.
Yeah, I mean, I think they will keep Cam Newton. With his cap hit as it is this year, kind of be crazy for them to just move on from him. Don't really have many other options, and sitting at number 7, it's not like they're going to be getting a quarterback in the draft probably that's going to be your next franchise guy. So I do think Andrew Thomas help shore up that offensive line, make sure Cam Newton doesn't get injured again, make sure he is healthy and on the football field. Can't rely on the young guys they had this past season. You can't let the offensive line slip to the sort of level it did at times this past year.
All right, we're going to 8 here. Another athletic, explosive dude. Goes to Arizona. Jedrick Wills Jr. of Alabama. Dude's great in the run game, great in pass protection. I still think he's getting better.
Yeah, he is the most athletic offensive lineman in this class. I'm just going to say it right now. He'll go to the combine, blow the doors off it, explodes off the tape, has some highlight reel blocks. Not the most proficient in pass protection at the moment, might not, hit the ground running at the NFL level, but I think in that scheme, in terms of Arizona ran the most screens in the NFL this past year, this dude out in space is a weapon. I think it's a perfect scheme player fit.
If you're Arizona with the light personnel they run and the offense Cliff Kingsbury wants to run, you need an athlete at tackle to help on those screens. Jedrick Wills, exactly that. Going to 9, Christian Fulton. Didn't have the best of games against Clemson, but still shined a bit all year long. High coverage grades in back-to-back seasons. A guy that can match and mirror at the next level. Great man coverage experience. Goes to Jacksonville.
Yeah, if he doesn't get flagged for that one DPI,
True.
I think we look at his game a lot different with that pick that he had against Justin Ross that was called back. But I think just over the course of his career, we now have 2 seasons of him grading out elite, highest graded quarterback in the SEC, both of the last 2 seasons in SEC play. And my comp for him, A.J. Boye. Who wouldn't want a clone of A.J. Boye if you're a Jacksonville Jaguars fan? So I think, yes, they need some help at other positions, but getting that cornerback duo back that they lost when they traded away Jalen Ramsey could be big.
Cleveland Browns at 10. They go ahead and bring in Tristan Wirfs. Start the Kevin Stefanski era in a good spot there. Another athlete. I mean, the guys that are going to get drafted in the top 10, at least in PFF's mock, are all going to be athletes at the offensive tackle position. He can play guard in the beginning of his career. He can even go into tackle. A guy that really comes in and helps Cleveland early.
Yeah, Tristan Wirfs, and he got better every single year of his career. His run blocking and pass blocking grade improved from freshman year to sophomore year to junior year, both of them. And then over his last 6 games of this past season allowed 1 pressure. He is peaking at the right time, has all the physical tools you could want to play offensive line in the NFL. I know offensive line, I wish they could, the Cleveland Browns could address it in free agency instead of via the draft because of how much rookie offensive linemen tend to struggle. I don't think they're in cap situation to do it. So that means it's OT at number 10 for them, and it's a good year to need offensive tackle help.
Number 11, New York Jets bring in Jerry Jeudy, the other great receiver in this class, not named CeeDee Lamb, a guy that can separate, very good in the slot and outside, can beat press, and he can fly.
Yeah, and it's important to remember, deep wide receiver class. You'll get a good guy on day 2 if you wait and want to get one. But there are a couple game changers in this draft class at the receiver position. Jerry Jeudy is one of them. Do not pass on them if you need wide receiver help. You will have a number 1 type of wide receiver for the foreseeable future if you do. He is just that special of a route runner. Yes, some drops this year, but still only 7 drops on 84 catchable. You go to that Michigan Bowl game, unguardable. Over 200 yards in that. Just the speed down the football field, next level.
Speed and separation are king in today's NFL. Jerry Jeudy has both. Number 12, we got Trayvon Diggs of Alabama. Sticking with Alabama, a cornerback, outside cornerback that's played very well this year. They still need cornerback help. They did throw a draft pick at Trayvon Mullen, but this guy comes in, he can start day 1.
Yeah, if you throw out that LSU game, which everyone kind of got torched by LSU this year, only held 13 catches in the rest of his games this season. Came back, it was his senior year, got injured last year, and just a lockdown sort of year. Very physical, You look at him, probably the biggest wingspan of any cornerback in this draft class. But he's not. I wouldn't pigeonhole him into a press man corner. He has great zone instincts.
Yes.
Go back to that LSU game. He actually did have a pick on Joe Burrow in zone coverage that got called back. He's been very good in that regard over the course of his career. So a sort of complete corner that you wouldn't expect from his size.
I would argue his instincts and ball skills are very underrated in this class at that cornerback position. Number 13, A.J. Epenesa, he officially declared, I think a couple hours ago before this video, but him going to number 13, they continue to add to that Colts defense. He's the guy, edge 2, hands down.
Yeah, a very versatile edge defender, played almost 100 snaps on the interior this year for Iowa, a much different role than we saw from him last year when he just basically kind of was a sub-package guy, got to attack the passer, had to play the run a lot more. He's going to be a very good run defender at the next level and just has all the traits to be a consistent pocket pusher. I mean, he is enormous, 6'6", 280. He's not going to be Chase Young. Don't put him in that category, but he's going to be a very consistent, complete all-around defensive end for you at the next
level. Love that versatility, and so do the Colts. Number 14, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're bringing Derek Brown. And a lot of people have him going up into the top 10, but he falls to 14 here. Has been very dominant at times this year. Very good against the run. I think that's where he offers the help most first.
Yeah, he is just a grown man. Threw offensive linemen around at college football. Go to the Florida game. I'm not sure he lost a single rep in that game. He just was utterly dominant. That is who he is. You pair him next to Vita Vea, and you probably have the most physically imposing defensive tackle duo in the NFL. Again, I'm not sure he makes it to 14, but if he does, they'd be getting a steal.
15, let's go. Javon Kinlaw, another big defensive tackle. I think, 6'6", 310. This dude is huge. Look at that bicep. Looks like a ham hock there. Javon Kinlaw, good as a pass rusher. That's what comes out first. If you can win as a pass rusher at Javon Kinlaw's rate, you're going to have value in the NFL.
Yeah, his first step for being 310 pounds is much better than you would expect. And again, he had the highest pass rushing grade in 2018 of any returning defensive interior player, 88.7. And then got that pass rush grade over 90, improved upon it this year, had over 40 pressures on the interior for South Carolina. He has that sort of tried and true pedigree of athletic, big, long, productive. It's a good pedigree to have.
There you go. 16, we're going to Atlanta. Curtis Weaver, a PFF favorite by all means. He's graded very well all throughout his career at Boise State. In the Mountain West, level of competition is definitely a concern. He also had an injury late in the year, but if this guy's anything, he's productive.
Yeah, pass rushing grades over 92.0 each of the last 2 seasons. Does not fit the mold that we've seen from the Atlanta Falcons drafting on the edge. When we look at Vic Beasley, Takk McKinley, he is not that athletically. But that might be a good thing considering what Takk McKinley and Vic Beasley have done for the Atlanta Falcons over their career. He just beats offensive linemen at a very high rate. As much pop in his hands as any edge defender in this class. Yes, he doesn't have that amazing first step that you might want off the edge, but the production and the power off the charts.
Going to 17 here, Grant Delpit. We're going to be mocking Grant Delpit to the Dallas Cowboys for a while now. It's just such a huge fit. He's missed tackles this year. We've said it time and time again. It's a concern, but the range and the ball skills still keep him in the first round.
Yeah, last 3 games, conference championship, semifinal, and the national championship game. Didn't miss a single tackle in any of them, so he's back. Grant Delpit, number 17 overall, like I said. This one's going to be mocked a lot. It's because there's not a lot of safety-needy teams necessarily, but the Cowboys, definitely one of them. They need any coverage they can get there on the back end, and he offers some game-changing sort of range at the safety position, some versatility. The sophomore tape is off the charts this year. Had some injuries, but the raw talent you can't coach.
18, Miami Dolphins. After grabbing Tua Tagovailoa earlier in the draft, they bring in another athletic offensive tackle in Josh Jones. He will be at the Senior Bowl. His pass sets are sloppy. Technique can get better, but what he has, the tools are very good. You can build off that.
Yeah, and he had the highest graded season we've ever seen from a Group of 5 offensive tackle this past year. Only 4 pressures allowed all year long, and he has the athleticism, the length. It's rare to see from not usually guys who have that athleticism and length don't go to Houston. You go to a bigger school, but 4-year starter for them who has produced in pass protection all 4 years. We like him a lot, and we think he'll be a big riser at the Senior Bowl.
Oakland Raiders, after grabbing Trayvon Diggs, they bring him a man, Visca. Talked about him earlier. His favorite route, the direct snap. This guy wants the ball in his hands. Yeah. He does a very good job with it in his hands. Great after the catch, explosive, a rare athlete.
Yeah, he's just the guy who, if you get the ball in his hands, good things tend to happen. Over 30 broken tackles last year for them. Battled through injuries this year. Played a little bit of a different role, but still 15 broken tackles on the year for him. And he is, like I said, he's not a complete polished number 1 type of wide receiver. You're after the top 2 guys, everyone's going to have their question marks. but he is a rare athlete, has rare after-the-catch ability. Those two things, I think, usually translate to some success at the next level.
John Gruden is going to fall in love with this guy, thinking of what he can do with him in the offense. 20, we get T. Higgins, a different receiver than Laviska, bigger, but can win on the outside. Very good, very physical, good in contested catch situations, and a little bit more sudden than his size suggests.
Yeah, he had double-digit broken tackles on the season, which not a lot of 6'4" wide receivers are breaking tackles after the catch. That's just usually not their game. But double-digit broken tackles, and that's on a downfield route tree. He's not getting pumped. A lot of screens in that Clemson offense. They're throwing the ball down the football field, and you saw him in the national championship game, stacking Christian Fulton a number of different times. Had some wins down the football field where he got even overthrown. So I think he showed himself well enough down the stretch against top-flight cornerback talent. And I'm still on board with him in the top 20.
We're going back to back to back at the receiver position.
Yes.
Henry Ruggs of Alabama. Speedster. This dude's going to run in the 4.2s probably at the combine. He's what Deshaun Jackson can be, but he's a lot younger and a lot healthier. You bring him to Philadelphia now.
Yeah, without Deshaun Jackson, probably the slowest wide receiving core in the NFL. They just had nothing that could test opposing defenses down the football field. It affected the way Eagles opponents played Carson Wentz and that Eagles receiving core. And a guy who doesn't run a 4.3, he probably runs in the 4.2s here come combine in Indy, and that all of a sudden changes things. 24 of his 98 career catches resulted in touchdowns.
Going to the Buffalo Bills at 22. Jalen Johnson of Utah, underclassman at Utah. They have a ton of seniors that will be going to the Senior Bowl, but this guy might be the best in the group. Very good this past season. Does not give up the big play. He ranks first in coverage grade and forced incompletion percentage on throws of 10-plus yards over the past 2 years. This guy does it all deep down the football field.
Yeah, listen to Jalen Johnson talk about tape study and putting that into action, and all I can think of is Sean McDermott's defense and the zone coverages they play. He is the absolute perfect fit for that defense. They will covet that ability to recognize route concepts, recognize what's coming at them, break on balls, make plays on footballs. That's Jalen Johnson to a T. I think he's just a perfect fit for that scheme there that they run in Buffalo.
We already have Tre'Davious White. We already have Levi Wallace. Stop. Get cornerbacks when you can get them. This guy's very good. A first-round talent. Back into the first. You jump at the opportunity regardless of who you have on your roster. Going to 23, here comes Justin Herbert. He probably doesn't fall this far. We got to admit, he probably doesn't fall this far in the draft, but if he does, Patriots would be smart to jump on him. He's got a lot of the tools. He's going to impress people throwing on air at the Senior Bowl, and I think the Patriots, of anyone, could maybe turn him into something at the next level.
Well, I'd love for him just to get a red shirt year as well. I do think that somewhat you see him in any sort of big game, any real defense, and all of a sudden he crumbled. And people would point to the Utah game, the conference championship game, and the Wisconsin game, and the bowl game where they won. Oh yeah, Oregon won both those games. He had passing grades below 65 most.
Didn't rise to the occasion.
It was not necessarily because of him. Yes, he ran a little bit, made some plays with his legs, but that's not necessarily going to be his game at the next level. He's going to have to win from the pocket as a passer, and he was just far too inconsistent with that on a game-to-game basis. Yes, the Oregon scheme did not fit him, so I'd love to see him get kind of a redshirt year, get more of a scheme that fits him in terms of downfield passing, and then see what he can do.
Mocking quarterbacks for the Patriots in the late first round, a tradition like no other. Justin Herbert, 23. Number 24, one of my favorites in the class, Jalen Rhaegar of TCU. Talked to him early last week. This guy's very special, knows he can win down the football field, knows he wins those valuable routes at the intermediate and deep levels of the field, can separate, drops a bit of concern. Production fell off this year, but not all his fault.
Yeah, I mean, you'll go back to the sophomore tape and what he did as a true sophomore with TCU, going over 1,000 yards with a terrible, terrible quarterback situation even then, is special. I mean, that was a very good, we had him as a top sort of 10 player heading into the year and worried about the drops this year. His catch radius was a real concern this year at times, but he separates down the football field. That's where you want to see guys win. That's where guys like Terry McLaurin coming out, DK Metcalf coming out, guys who fell for other reasons whatsoever, but they could separate down the football field, and all of a sudden, that sends to work at the NFL level.
There you go. Let's go to 25. Jordan Elliott, Missouri defensive tackle that can actually rush the passer. Yeah. This guy, very athletic, good first step. I think he's the guy that, kind of the opposite of Linval Joseph, he's not going to eat people alive, but he's going to beat people quickly and get to the passer.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings really ignored the three-tech position. You know, Shamar Stephen, in there at times, did not have a lot of talent next to Linval Joseph. Kind of came back to bite them in the 49ers game, in the playoffs. Get someone in there that can stop the run and rush pass. Just someone who can make an impact in there. Might surprise you to learn Jordan Elliott outgraded Derek Brown, outgraded Javon Kinlaw, the highest graded defensive tackle in the country, highest graded defensive tackle in SEC play this season. Utterly dominant year from him. and has the athleticism, length, size, whatever you want to translate to the next level.
Miami Dolphins picking again, number 26, to get C.J. Henderson, a quieter corner. He's not going to talk a ton. He's not going to get in your face, but very consistent, good in man coverage, longer guy. I think he's a guy that can really help Miami early.
He's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. He's not going to fit every scheme in the NFL, but if you play a ton of man coverage, you're going to love what you see on C.J. Henderson's tape. Had a handful of times he lost down the football field this year, but he almost reminds me of Marlon Humphrey coming out where he was at the catch point. He was losing at the catch point, and that sort of is inconsistent over times. As long as you're still there, a lot of times, and playing the ball correctly, a lot of times it's random whether or not the wide receiver comes down to the wide receiver's skill, whether or not he hauls it in. C.J. Henderson, as sticky as it gets in this class in terms of man coverage.
Force tight window throws at the cornerback position. That's what's valuable, and that's what C.J. Henderson does. 27, Bryce Hall, a completely different cornerback really to C.J. Henderson. This guy belongs in his own heavy scheme like the Seattle Seahawks run, a longer guy. Not gonna blow people away at the combine. He's not a special athlete, but very productive. Had the most forced incompletions of any player in the class in 2018. Injured this year. Falls to round 1. He's a productive player in the NFL.
Yeah, this would be a sight for sore eyes for Seahawks fans that had to watch Trey Flowers get put in a blender by Devontae Adams over the weekend.
Not good.
Bryce Hall is a very accomplished press cornerback, has great length, and then he led the nation in forced incompletions last year before got his ankle injury this year, only played about half a season. But the Seahawks cannot win with the secondary in its current form in the NFC. You're just not going to make it through that gauntlet of quarterbacks and offenses with what they have at the cornerback position right now. Need to address it early.
Going to 28, one of my favorite fits on this mock, Ashton Davis of Cal, former high hurdler, track star, that's getting more physical as every game he plays. He's willing to lay the boom. Football IQ continues to improve. You put him in a Baltimore defense that leans on speed, blitzes defensive backs all the time. I think this is such a good fit. I think his ceiling and floor get higher going to Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore plays this different brand of defense that I think the way the NFL is going, where they just throw a bunch of defensive backs out there continuously, and they're not afraid to blitz them. They're not afraid to ask them to play the run as well. But their main reason they're throwing them out there is because they can cover. They need guys that can cover over the middle of the football field and be versatile and match up with anything an opposing offense throws at them. And again, Ashton Davis fits into that mold of just get guys who can cover ground over the middle of the football field. Speed for days, makes plays over the middle of the field, and then makes plays we've seen coming up underneath as well. So a very complete safety.
29, Tennessee Titans, Julian Okwara of Notre Dame. This, for your alma mater, I'm going to just let you take the reins on Okwara here.
Yeah, Okwara goes to the Titans where they have Cameron Wake, a very similar sort of edge rusher, freaky athlete, bends around the edge, can teach Okwara, a thing or two about rushing the passer at the NFL level, because he's not quite a polished product at this point, but still, as not being quite a polished product, still at an elite 90-plus pass rushing grade this past year. Going to test out probably better than any other edge defender at the combine, and for being undersized, he can still bull rush, and we saw it. That's probably his go-to move, actually, this past season at Notre Dame. So I do think he is still a first-round prospect, even with the injury, even being a senior, and they need someone across from Harold Landry with, Cameron Wake being 37 years old at this point.
Very true. Devontae Adams, you're no longer alone. We're giving you Juwan Jennings of Tennessee, a guy that can shake and bake after the catch. Some of the most absurd forced missed tackle rate after the catch this year. He's a guy that you get him the ball, not even in space, put it in traffic, this guy's going to break tackles.
He's 6'3", 210. So he's not your typical guy you think is going to be a tackle breaker. He's not built like a running back. Led the nation in broken tackles.
Wow.
30 broken tackles on only 59 catches for the Tennessee Volunteers this season. You throw on the South Carolina tape, and it's the most impressive wide receiver tape I saw all season. He was just demolishing cats in that game. Yes, he's on the older side. 5th year this past season at Tennessee was his breakout year, but he started off as quarterback. He was recruited as a dual-threat quarterback there for Tennessee, and you see that vision after the catch. I think that is going to translate well, and the Packers love them some yak wideouts.
31, Kansas City Chiefs, Cameron Dancer. Hold me closer, Cameron Dancer. This guy, very good in press coverage. He also played very well in zone concepts this past year. I think he gets his hand on the ball. He doesn't get beat a ton. Very consistent. I like Cameron.
Yeah, he holds the title of the lone cornerback who did not get torched by LSU this year. He went up against LSU, gave up 2 of 4 catches for 13 yards in that game.
That's a win.
That's
LSU torched people this year.
LSU, they torched the best of cornerbacks in the country. A.J. Terrell gave up 150-plus yards. A number of guys, Trayvon Diggs, who went earlier in this game, gave up over 100 yards against LSU. 13 yards in that game, in a full game's worth of play. Very long, pterodactyl-esque cornerback, but again, he's not just pigeonholed into press man. He's a little skinny, a little on the slighter side, but Kansas City
His
Chiefs.
weigh-in will be important.
Yes, beggars can't be choosers here down at 31. Kansas City Chiefs need any cornerback help they can get.
Speaking of those long arms, don't even fit on the screen, dude. I think they run all the way down to your shoes. 32, San Francisco 49ers winning the Super Bowl in this mock draft. They get a very versatile safety of Alabama, Xavier McKinney. He can play everywhere, and like you said, this is where the NFL is going. Get guys that can play multiple positions, defensive backs that can rush the passer. I really like Xavier McKinney, too.
Yeah, Xavier McKinney, run defense, pass rushing, and coverage grades over 79.0 last year and this year, both those seasons. Very versatile, very productive. Coverage grade well over 90 over the course of his career. And again, just another guy who can cover and do a lot of different matchup things over the middle of the football field, whether you want him to come down and play a slot, play in the box, rush the passer, really can do it all. They might lose Jimmy Ward there over the course of the offseason. He's set to be a free agent. So just keeping that defense that's led them to where they are now, keeping that as strength should be priority.
Fantastic stuff, Mike. That's going to do it for our mock draft, our latest mock draft on PFF.com. For all of our draft coverage, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel or go ahead and go to the site at PFF.com. Thank you. This is Austin Gayle and Mike Renner.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.